Gaming hardware is becoming cheaper all the time, and most people nowadays who call themselves a typical PC gamer are going to have a moderately spec'd out PC. That's why MSI have released their new MAG272CQR, which is part of their optics range, which features a 2560 by 1440 display, a 1500R curvature and 1 millisecond MPRT. MSI asked if we wanted to take a look at one, and we jumped at the chance. Sometimes it feels like us mid-range gamers are lost in the noise of top spec hardware and prices for that matter, but not anymore. The MSI MAG272CQR monitor's aesthetic is very understated. It's plain black with a skinny side and top bezels. The bottom is a little fatter and branded with the MSI logo straight down the middle. On the left side you can find a headphone peg to store your gaming headset, and lo and behold there's a joystick for navigating your menus on the bottom right rear. And if you've watched any of my monitor reviews before, then you'll know that I'm a fan of joystick control on monitors as opposed to several buttons on the underside, you know, the bottom right underside. So on the back is a subtle but tasteful RGB strip, which unfortunately doesn't shine against the back wall, which feels a little pointless to me. It can also be synced to what's happening on screen, but you can't see it, so why would you bother syncing it in the first place if it's never going to be seen? Now, it's strange that MSI would include it in the first place. It does need the MSI Mystic Light app to sync up all of your LEDs in your machines. You can, like I've got here, the fans, the screen, all synced up. I didn't install it though, as I've already got the Corsair IQ software, so I didn't really want the two to actually clash. While we're around the back, we may as well talk about the ports as well. Now, you can find one single DisplayPort 1.2A, two HDMI 2.0Bs, and there's also 3 USB ports, 2 USB 2.0s, and a single Type B to connect to your desktop to activate the 2.0 USB ports. And there's also a 3.5mm aux out for headphones. Now, you also need the Type B USB port to your desktop to control the driver that you can install, the OSD driver. As with their other MAG monitors, the MSI MAG272CQR retains its 1500R curve. However, being 27 inches, it feels that a curved screen at this size is a little pointless as well, as there isn't enough width on the left and right to sit in your peripheral vision like there is with a 32-inch ultra-wide form factor, for example. I would have personally preferred a standard 16:9 flat panel. There is also a model, I'll leave a link in the description to that if you wanted this monitor, but flat. The monitor has a tilt adjustment between 5 and 20 degrees and a height adjustment of 0 to 130mm. However, why MSI hasn't included a swivel is beyond me, but I suppose that people looking for a gaming monitor are going to be sitting in front of the screen anyway, so is it really needed? Well, probably not. The monitor also sits on a chunky stand which feels very well built and very rigid. It's held in place by 2 screws on the back rather than the more standard clip that you find on other monitors today. The pedestal stand has a cable hole to route your cables down the rear, keeping things looking neat, and the legs themselves take up very little real estate on the desk. So let's move on to the important part, the actual screen. Now, the MAG272CQR has a 27-inch VA panel with a resolution of 2560 by 1440, which we've mentioned before, a refresh rate of 165Hz, which is just above the common 144Hz that you see on gaming monitors. MSI are also promising a 1 millisecond MPRT and a 3000:1 contrast ratio, and also FreeSync technology, which falls between a range of 48 to 165Hz. And finally, a 178-degree viewing angle, which is pretty standard with VA panels. One thing I will mention is that HDR is pretty non-existent here, even though it is advertised, thanks to the 8-bit color, depth, and 300 nits of max brightness. Now, HDR needs a minimum of 400 nits of brightness to achieve that HDR ready badge, but even at 400 nits, HDR isn't that good anyway. Running our MAG272 through our data color SpiderX, which showed some interesting results. While MSI claimed that color contrast comes in at 3000:1, in reality this was closer to 2000:1, while color accuracy after calibration showed us a Delta E average score of 1.06, which is significantly better than what we were given out of the box, which was pretty odd. There was a huge noticeable difference to me. The image uncalibrated had this kind of purple hue to it, while after my calibration this was significantly reduced by adding a green tone. There are settings inside the menu for individual RGB sliders to attempt to reduce this under the custom color temperature preset if you don't have access to any kind of color calibration tools. Color uniformity for 100% brightness was also exceptional, and finally the monitor will cover 100% of the sRGB gamut but falls short of under 90% on Adobe RGB, but it remains at 90% on DCI P3 color gamuts. Running the calibration also destroyed the brightness of the monitor image, which was a shame, but that's what it needed to get a more natural color. But all this is well and good, but what about gaming performance? Well, actually, color me impressed. The MSI MAG272CQR performed very, very well, and I only really had an issue with some ghosting effects that appeared because, after all, it is a VA panel, and the fact that shadowy areas and dark locations in games did lose a lot of detail. There's no black stabilizer option here either, like we've seen on something like the AOC 24G2 monitor we reviewed a little while ago, which brings out the detail in dark areas. Running a UFO ghosting test, I saw significant amount of ghosting, especially as the colors got darker on the test. Inside the gaming section of the menu, there is a response time setting, which I set to fastest, which helps somewhat but didn't eliminate the ghosting completely. The image enhancement option too is there to sharpen edges, but did little to improve the ghosting of the monitor. The MAG272CQR I felt performed extremely well while gaming, although I'm not quite sure the FPS counter built into the monitor was giving me an accurate reading. During Heroes of the Storm, the FPS counter showed me locked at 165 frames, which okay is something to be expected with my PC spec. It's not the hardest game to run graphically. However, when I used the onboard counter with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, it showed a locked FPS of 100. When I switched to using the FPS counter built into Steam, it showed that Odyssey was running at around 80 FPS. Not sure why the difference here, so I ended up turning off MSI's FPS counter anyway. Still, FreeSync did work nicely here, and I noticed no screen tearing while zipping around the rooftops of Greece in Odyssey, or even when dodging incoming attacks in Doom, where I was pulling around 140 FPS quite nicely. Colors also very much popped while playing games, and everything felt nice and bright and vibrant, especially if there was those kind of bright lighting coming from dark area scenario. Although you're not getting a 4K experience here, it's nice to have a resolution drop to 2K to take advantage of the extra FPS you can generally pull, especially if you've got some mid-range hardware. Oh, and my PS4 did look pretty decent through this monitor. My game of choice right now being Call of Duty Modern Warfare looked nice and sharp, and even though it's on PS4, there was no noticeable ghosting or even tearing, but I'm not actually looking out for that anyway, and to be honest with you, I am more of a casual gamer. The MSI MAG272CQR gaming monitor would make a great addition to a gaming setup. It's got some very nice color accuracy, even though it did need a calibration to get there. And having 165Hz on a sub $400 monitor is also a huge achievement. Gaming looked nice and smooth as well, and thanks to a little bit of image enhancement, it looked nice and sharp. So thank you very much for checking out our video review of the MSI MAG272CQR. If you enjoyed this video, then do hit that like button, subscribe to keep up with our latest tech and gaming videos, and also let us know in the comments down below what you think about this monitor, whether you would go for an MSI Mag Curve 272 curved monitor, or whether you would want the 16:9 flush standard monitor. Let us know in the comments below what you prefer. As I say, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.